Hello ladies and gentlemen of YouTube, time for another Metal Earth kit build. And this time, this is one that had been requested a while back, and unfortunately it's taken me some time to get to it. But today, I'm going to build the Tiger tank. And if this packaging looks a little different, that's because this is one of the tanks out of the Barnes & Noble kit that I picked up not very long ago. And I've got another video on that, where you can get some of these kits in packages of 3 or even 4. So let's pull out the metal sheets, take a peek at the instructions, gather some tools, and put it together. We've got this kit out of the white box that it comes in at Barnes & Noble, and it's just the instructions and a little envelope with the sheets in it, which is pretty much what you get when you buy them separately. Except you don't get that pretty little envelope. Anyway, here are the 2 metal sheets. Set them to the side. Take a peek at the instructions. And these are kind of what I call the older style instructions. It's just one tall piece of paper instead of a wider, several pages. And this is basically, you've got like page 1, page 2, page 3, and page 4. You'll notice there's a solid line running down the center, making sort of an X or a plus, and each section, it marks off each section. And you start up here for basic information. You've got the little line drawing similar to this, and Metal Earth, 3D laser cut models, blah blah blah. And you have a little bit here that tells you about the fold lines, insertion holes, and insertion tabs, and those are important. And then I use a little bit they stick in every one of them that says needle nose kits are helpful for assembly, and they certainly are. And this little key or legend about connecting the tabs, and the blue circle, when you see that in the instructions, basically means to insert the tab and bend it over. The green triangle means to insert the tab and twist it. And then you have one of these sheets here that's labeled with all of the parts. Here we are. And you can see all the part numbers. Now, this being an older instructions, what they used to do, well, they still do, they don't number each individual part when there's duplicates. And you can kind of see that here, number 27. Well, there's 3 pieces right here that aren't numbered, and I'm guessing those are all part 27. You've got part 4 here, which is similar, but noticeably different. And there's probably more than one, because you're talking about wheels on either side of the vehicle or either side of the tank. In later instructions, they started color coding those to make it easier to find, and I'm glad they did that. Hopefully there won't be any serious confusion because of the similarity in all of these circles. Over here, well, over here beside the next sheet layout is what I'm assuming, peel that off ever so carefully, I'm assuming this is the barrel of the gun. So we'll set that to the side in a safe-ish place. Like I was saying, this is sort of page 1, over here is page 2, and you start with part 1, 2, 3, 4, and just follow the little red arrows across in whatever direction they tell you. Here it's across, and then you kind of come back here, and here's a sub-assembly for this, and the part that goes here, you go across, and then here it actually kind of wiggles and curves around and goes back, so pay attention. And then you come down to this section. Let's see, this ends with 8 and 9, so here we have 10, 11, 12, this is, they're complex, and then it goes on down, and then we pick up over here, and in this instance we're done. Tools that I use: pliers. Pliers are very good. Long needle nose pliers are excellent for a great many things. Flat nose pliers are great for certain bends, and it's essential to have some sort of clippers to be able to easily and cleanly remove the parts from the sheets. Tweezers are very helpful. They're very small and easy to manage. They're great for holding on to small parts, great for making small bends, great for twisting and bending some of the tabs. I like to have an assortment of different kinds. I have a fairly normal set of tweezers, a thinner set, and a couple of sets with very pointed ends for getting into very small areas. There's a number of different things you can use to make these cylinder shaped and round parts. I have a bunch of dowel rods that I've used, a couple of them sharpened for making cone shapes. I've also picked up some step mandrels that have different size round areas, or a very inexpensive drill bit set. This is a set that I got very cheaply that I honestly would never use to actually drill with, but there's a lot of different sizes you can use. We've got our metal sheets, our instructions, and some tools. Let's get started. A sharpened pencil or dowel rod is good for shaping part 5. I used a 3/8 inch dowel rod, the size of a large kid's pencil. It also helps to bend the tabs all facing the same direction towards the next part. They will better align with the slots. I used my fingernails to bend over the tabs on top. I initially put a small twist in the tabs, holding the two ends of part 6 together to secure it, while I got the other tabs and parts in place, with the intention of coming back and bending it over. I made the mistake of putting the tab closing off part 6 on the inner slot, which is meant for part 9 that holds the cannon on. Simple fix. I'm getting into parts that have duplicates, and not all of them are numbered. It was not that hard to find ones that did not have numbers on the directions, but be careful and compare to keep from mixing things up. I bent over the tabs holding part 11 to part 12 just enough to hold it together. Then after attaching the two parts to the main body, I finished bending over the top tabs and cleaning up the look. I should have waited to bend over the back until after bending down the other side. I was not able to use the needle nose pliers on the other side, and the bend is not as even as I would have liked. I put the front two tabs on the turn into place first. They were thinner and hardest to line up. I also pulled on those two tabs a little as I twisted to more firmly lock them in place. I put the two tabs on part 18 into 20 first, and then twisted those tabs, then slid part 19 into place and twisted those two tabs. Then I bent over two of the tabs connecting the assembly to the tank, attached the two unbent tabs first, and swung the bent tabs into place. I found a drill bit that fits nicely between the slots for part 21, then use that bit to curve part 21. Putting the wheels and tracks together is the hardest part of this kit. There are a lot of similar parts. I used several size drill bits to form the different size parts here. The instructions do not really say what order to put things together in. I started with part 24. I curved 4 of them for one side and attached them to part 23. I then placed parts 29 on top of 24. Next, I assembled parts 27 and 28. Instead of folding over the tabs on 28, I twisted them slightly, just enough to hold. At this point, I placed the assembled parts 27 and 28 on top and used a thin set of tweezers to reach inside from the back and twist the tabs. At this point, I went back and untwisted the outer tabs of part 28 that hold on 27 and then bent them over. Then I placed 25 and 26 into place. I assembled 30 and 25. 25 was not marked on my directions but is behind 30, and I assembled part 31 and 32. I put 31 and 32 on first because part 30 sits over neighboring wheels. The instructions also have 33, 34, 35, and 36 on backwards. They will not fit on the sides the instructions say to put them on. I use the wheels at the end to bend the tracks around and shape them. And repeat for the other side. I'm not going to make you sit through all of that again. As I was putting on the last part, part 37 came loose, so I twisted the tabs more securely and tried again. My first tank. Yay! This kit is not that difficult, but it is a little bit confusing at first. The top half of it, no big deal. Just throw a few parts together, twist some tabs. But the problem is, the difficulty is when you get to the tracks and you get to all those wheels, there are a lot of them. They're not all numbered on the sheets, and it can get confusing. The other thing is the directions just show like a broke apart assembly of all the different parts. And that's helpful, and you can do it with just that, but it doesn't walk you through a good step. And the first time I did it, I went about it the wrong way and ended up getting in too deep and messing a few things up. So I had to stop and order another kit. It took me a little longer, but I learned from my mistakes. One thing that I would suggest, you might want to take some time to organize all the parts. Some of them are labeled. Clip out the ones that are marked. Maybe you put them in a small container or a piece of paper or a magnet with the number on them. Clip out all the other parts and compare them. The wheels all look very similar, but if you look on the directions where it'll show the face of the part, and the wheels that are very similar have tabs in different areas. You know, one set has tabs in 3 spots around the outside edge. Another one has 2 spots towards the center. Another one has 2 slots on the outside edge. So take your time and sort them out. That might help you a little better. And the way that I've shown as I built it seemed to work best of the ways that I've tried. It's the one that was successful. So being organized and attentive, the directions do leave you hanging just a little bit. There is at least one part that is not labeled at all, so it was basically a process of elimination to figure out what that was, and it wasn't hard, but it can be a little intimidating, and if you've never done a kit before, it can really leave you hanging and confused. Then in, nice looking little model, nice looking tank. Got a couple more to do, as well as a bunch of other kits. This one was requested. I honestly can't remember who. It has been a while, and I can't find in any of my comments where it was asked for. There are others. Himeji Castle, I believe is how you say it. I'm going to be doing that one soon. Still have a couple of Batman kits. Still have some other videos. So stay tuned. If you have any questions or comments, as always, please leave them down below. Thank you for watching, and keep on keeping on.